ready for a conversation with unfiltered truths, politically incorrect statements, and a ton of shit that will piss you Karens off. You've been officially warned. Welcome to the Big Mike Podcast with your host, Big Mike.
Hey everybody, this is Mike. We're coming to you. We were getting ready to do a live, and our feed just dropped, so we're going to do this real quick. So I apologize to anybody who was jumping on that feed. We're having some serious technical issues right now with the internet. I think a lot of people are right now because everything's just all over the map here. But we're going to come live to you, so just check this out. This show right here, like I said, I've got sources on the East Coast, West Coast, you name it, everywhere. So I have boots on the ground pretty much in Washington, D.C. right now as we speak, at the White House. And we're going to We're going to be going to him real shortly here. Whatever you hear in the media, don't be taking it 100% the whole heart right now, because they're just, I was watching the news last night and it was just out of control. So this is why I wanted somebody close on the ground, what's really going on in Washington, D.C. I'm going to be bringing in an EOD expert with the military. I'm not going to say what branch he's with, but he's an expert in the EOD. They brought him in as, I guess, an emergency precaution. He's there at the White House now checking things out. We're going to go to him in probably about 2 more seconds, and then we're going to let y'all know what's really going on. So I'm going to bring my guest on. What's happening, Joe?
Hey, what's going on, Big Mike? How you been, bud?
Pretty good, man. How's you doing? So let's get right down.
Man, not too bad.
Let's get right down to it, man. So, all this stuff started happening in Washington D.C. at first before you got, I guess we're going to call it deployed to Washington D.C. What was the feeling like, before you got shipped out there?
So in our career field, traveling with members of the executive branch is pretty common. It's something I've probably been on, in my 6-year career, I've probably been on 17, 18, close to 20 trips, everywhere from Ireland to, Southern Florida, Minnesota, you name it. I've been to all these different places. This one is unique. This is the first time they've really requested that we bring our body armor, our ACH, our IOTBs, our plate carriers. So it would seem as though there's some form of that they're expecting something to happen. That they don't know what. I will tell you this: on the ground, I've been walking around DC the majority of the morning. It's been a kind of easygoing morning before we go to our brief. Mm-hmm. But it's a ghost town, Mike. It's eerie, it's bizarre.
Serious? Is it something like out of a movie?
Well, I mean, for the most part, the majority of all your first building, your first floor establishments in various buildings. I think the theme of the day yesterday was boredom up, because you're seeing construction crews all over the town from various different contractors boarding up the front of the private businesses. You're not really seeing it on the federal buildings.
Yeah, I can actually
seeing it on the private businesses.
You can actually hear in the audio in the background. I guess they're hammering, putting wood up on the buildings and things like that right now. So
yeah, if you hear things coming through the audio, I mean, I'm walking the streets right now. I really wish I could patch you some video. Maybe later on we could do like a recorded video call or something just between you and I, to where we can really show people what's actually happening here, which you're not going to see.
What we can do is probably go live off your phone.
Yeah, we could probably do a Facebook Live.
Facebook Live, and just we'll load this on Facebook, and then you can load your live on Facebook, and they can see what you're dealing with.
Yeah, that kind of thing. So
I mean, just in talking with you, I've walked about a block and a half, almost 2 blocks, because I'm just walking around with my hands in my pockets. And I may have crossed paths with 3 people.
3 people. So
now are you in full Army? Your BDUs?
No, I'm in complete civilian.
Okay.
So it is. So you guys are just there as a support capacity on. I mean, you guys with a. Most of you EOD guys, y'all are not. I don't consider you guys a regular Army. I consider you up there with the Tier 1 operators, because you guys are always attached to some SF group or Navy SEALs group or, CAG or something like that. So you guys there.
Yeah, I mean, for us, definitely not Tier 1, but, we're almost always in like a Secret Service capacity.
Okay. So you guys are you guys there on your own, or are you guys attached with any kind of unit?
we've still yet to get our briefing.
Roger that. So, but I just
Now, how fast did it take for them to tell you you're leaving?
Normally it's within 24 to 48 hours.
That's what I was thinking.
Okay.
Yeah, because I was looking up some stuff yesterday. We were actually on Flight Tracker, and I noticed the amount of the C-130s were heavy everywhere. There was like 60
Man, you hear them
C-130s.
in the background pounding.
So they definitely do.
Yeah, that wasn't us in the C-130s. We primarily just do commercial airlines when it comes to that application.
But I mean, could you kind of let us know, like, as far as like heavy C-130 traffic, is that usual for something like this? I mean, you're talking about 60 birds in the air heading to Washington. Was that moving troops, or was it just equipment, or?
That could go either way, because a lot of all the troops that you're really seeing on the news, these aren't it boils down to posse comitatus. So what you're really seeing is National Guard assets.
Right.
Case in point, well, here I'll hold on to that just for a couple more minutes so we can build up into it.
Yeah.
But what you're really seeing is more National Guard assets. You're not going to see really too many actually active duty military in this capacity.
Okay, so there's going to be we're pretty much looking at in D.C. on the ground is going to be National Guard with a couple of regular Army units. You would think.
I wouldn't even think, to be honest, I don't think you'll see any regular Army units.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's crazy. But you see, we're getting conflicting reports where they're talking about. I mean, you're talking. Well, they said the first count was 7,000. Now it's up to 20,000. And I'm just sitting there. Are they just pulling reserves from every single state?
I think the majority of them are coming from Pennsylvania,
Okay.
just from what I'm seeing. Some from Pennsylvania, some from Virginia.
Yeah.
Which, close proximity to the district, it shouldn't be hard to mobilize. And let's be honest, they saw this coming weeks out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hear you 100%. Yeah, well, they probably saw it more than.
Now that I know you just got done, but now I got a question, and I bet you a bunch of the subscribers and the people that are viewing are going to ask is, was that picture of the I guess it was a National Guardman sleeping in the Capitol building? Is that actually what's going on?
I wouldn't have any doubt. It's more than likely, but you got to remember too. These guys, this is what they train for. You know, and to sleep on the floor of the Capitol building. I mean, it's not like I'm not trying to diminish it or say anybody's not doing anything hard. I don't want it to come across in that capacity. But it's not a bombed out building in the middle of Syria.
Yeah,
that's what I was saying. I'm seeing reports where mothers were freaking out because their kids had the MRE or something like that, and they're laying on the floor. And I'm just like, hold on a second for 5 minutes. Didn't your son realize, when he joined the military, he knew what he was signing up for?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the commitment's a little bit more than, some health care and some tuition towards your college education. I mean, when they call it service, that's what they really mean.
Yeah.
And
they're not sitting in 110-degree heat, dry, in the middle of a desert in a tent with no AC, no heat, no nothing. They're sitting in a climate-controlled building that's clean.
And the weird part
with marble floors.
I think the media was taking that particular story way out of proportion because a lot of these kids, when they're kids, because my son's right now serving too. Right now, most of these kids are sitting there chilling out, laying on the floor with their packs and stuff, just chilling out watching Netflix right now.
Yeah, because you're allowed. You're allowed.
Like to me.
Go ahead.
That's to me, and more than likely, that's probably all allowed to do. In this capacity, so I was starting to kind of touch on it earlier, and I peeled back, just waiting for a more opportune time period for us to kind of segue into this topic, which we have. So with that being said, I walked down by the fence earlier, and I mean they're posted, they're pulling security. The Capitol building, you probably can't get within about an eighth to a quarter of a mile of it. They have it completely fenced off all the way down to Pennsylvania Avenue.
Okay.
It's very much so fortified and fenced off with concrete barriers and fences and everything else. In reality, the entire National Mall is pretty much fenced off at this point. You can't get very close to the White House at all, nor the Capitol building. But, I mean, when you look at these National Guardsmen that are out there, and like I said, I'm not trying to diminish them or say what they're doing is not important. So I hope I don't get misinterpreted or misconstrued. they don't even have magazines in their mag wells. Like they're not.
That's what the media is reporting right now. It's like the military's coming in and they're going to be armed. And I was wondering about that because you're seeing pictures, you're hearing stories all over the place talking about they're coming in, rolling tanks, all that. And you just right there just said it with one fell swoop. They don't even have magazines, in their weapons. And that right there to me is like, if you're going to bring the National Guard in, if you're going to bring any type of military in, why do they need to be armed, loaded, and ready to go if you think there's a threat? Now, if there's not such a threat that you're thinking about, like all these politicians are thinking, then why are they standing on the street with a weapon with no magazine? That's not a soldier to me. That is just a security
My personal
guard.
gut's telling me it's a show of force. It's it's more of a deterrent, if you will.
Yeah.
Which I mean, at first glance, when you look at it, it's quite the deterrent. I mean, you're seeing people in full OCT uniforms, gabbed up with IOTVs, not wearing ACHs, which is kind of bizarre. I don't know why they're not wearing their ACHs, but they're wearing the patrol caps. And they have their M4s, with 2-point slings. But like I said, no magazines in the magazine wells. I don't know if that'll change closer to the inauguration day or not.
So, well, I wanted to get your perspective on the morale of just what you've seen around. Like, are these guys really attentive, or they know this is kind of like BS? What do you think the morale is when you guys we landed in this D.C.? You guys were probably like, "Oh crap, something's going to go happen." They called me in, but when you got there, what do you what's the feel of the just the people around you? Like, what's going on? Like, is there? I know that now if they brought in the National Guard, and hear me correctly. And I think I don't know if this is true or not. That's why I got you on here as a guest here, because you know what's going on. Do they automatically tell the I guess I don't know what they call it, the public mall police or whatever, to hit
federal police?
The federal police, are they there too, or are they out of y'all's way? What's that?
Well, you've got, I think it's 3, 4, maybe even 5 different policing jurisdictions here just within the district alone, with the Secret Service. Yeah. You've got the Metropolitan Police. You have various forms of different law enforcement agencies.
Yeah.
I'm sure they're all working together in conjunction. More than likely, higher assets. I wouldn't be surprised if at some way this is being directly dictated by leadership within the actual military itself, through the National Guard, also with local law enforcement. Mm-hmm. Because I mean, at the end of the day, they don't want blood on their hands. Like, that's not good for anybody.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I always tell everybody, you get these crackpots on these shows, these former military guys that have channels and podcasts, and they're all talking about civil unrest, and we're going to go to civil war and all that. And I try to tell everybody, look, when you bring that up, civil war, it's not like we're going to be in the streets shooting each other. It'll be a whole different kind of kinetic event, And I know you have some strong thoughts about when, you hear certain people on certain shows and they're talking about Civil War, and I want to get your point of view on how you feel about that particular subject.
Yeah, no doubt. I'll get into that here just in a second. I want to finish up about these local jurisdictions here.
Okay, Roger that.
The reality is, I would think, and I'm not here to try to argue semantics or get into any rabbit holes, but where the transition of power takes place on Inauguration Day, whether that means, President Trump staying in office or Joe Biden taking power, or however that's going to play out. Let's just say however that's going to play out. And I'll leave it at that. The truth of the matter is, if it's Joe Biden taking office on Inauguration Day, I think the very last thing that administration will want will be blood on their hands day one. Day zero, if you will.
Absolutely.
Pretty much. That's what I was thinking.
Absolutely.
That'd be a pretty rough way to start things off.
Now, you see, since you got on here, you've been with, attached to Secret Service, and you actually, believe it or not, I do know firsthand knowledge that, and we spoke previously before, that you were on pretty much campaign trail there for a little bit doing the Trump campaigns, and we had our conversation, a couple of days ago talking about like the atmosphere of the campaign and stuff like that. Now, did you see any like when you were on the campaign trail, did you guys find anything kind of oddball? Was there anything that you were seeing that there was, any kind of threat towards Trump or anything like that? Because from what I'm seeing and what a lot of people saw is every time he threw a rally, it was nothing but love out there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny you should ask that question. I'll get into one story, kind of a little bit more detailed. Absolutely. I mean, depending on the region that we were in, and don't get me wrong, I want to be very, very specific and say I didn't just do Trump campaigns. I also did, Biden household rotations, and so I worked a bipartisan schedule. It wasn't just for one single candidate, if you will.
Okay.
Which I think lends more credibility to the story as well, what I'm about to unfold.
Okay.
So, I think, what was this about? It was about a little over a year ago. It was before the COVID lockdowns, Mike.
Okay.
We were in Minneapolis, Minnesota, and where the Timberwolves play, where the Minnesota Timberwolves play. Is that the T-Mobile Center? I can't recall.
I think so. The T-Mobile Arena.
You guys are talking about basketball.
I think so. I think that's where it is.
Well, I just put that out because that's where the actual rally took place.
Okay.
And they broke an attendance record. It was incredible how many people were in there in the atmosphere of the arena. But just outside was about 8,000 to 10,000 counter protesters. And like I said, it depends. When I say it depends on the region, the only real non-love situations that you saw coming from those environments was when anti-Trump would show up and really want their voice to be heard.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, lots of, and I say this in air quotes, rape whistles.
Yeah.
Lots of beating on drums. Lots of 3-word chants or 6-word chants.
Just your typical lib chants that you hear like in and around Austin area too. We get the same thing, ho ho.
So this particular event, I'm coming out of the event. It's after the event had let out, and we had done our final checks, final clears, gave back all our equipment to the Secret Service. Now, when we got, I don't know anything about Minneapolis, Minnesota, as far as how to navigate the streets and things of that nature. I was there for 3 days. So we see a parking lot first thing that morning. It's $20 park. I was like, hey, man, that's great parking. It's right across from the arena. Pay the $20 bill, go in. It's an all-day thing. When we come out, that entire parking lot was completely engulfed with anti-Trumpers.
Wrong parking lot to go to.
Wrong parking lot to go to. You said it all. So we're coming out, man, and, we try to wear very, very neutral clothing, so we're not there to try to make a statement. We're there to try to be behind the scenes.
Right. Yeah.
So I'm wearing, black. Yeah, I'm wearing like black or a black polo with khakis, and I'm coming out. And people are screaming, "F you, F you!" Is it you cuss on the show, Mike?
What's that?
Yeah. Yeah, you can cuss on the show.
Yeah. This is an open platform. My show's open platform. I'll let it go.
So there's, fuck you, fuck Trump, you're a motherfucker. There's a gal, she's 5'2", she's screaming at me, fuck Trump. And I looked at her, I said, yeah, you're kind of hot. And it just instantaneously crossed the circuits of her brain. She had a complete meltdown in that parking lot. And I continued walking. Well, right about that time, the anti-Trump protesters decided to attack a mounted police officer on horseback.
Oh, shit.
Oh.
And when they did that, the daggone riot control started lobbing CS gas into our direct location. And Mike, if there's one thing you know about me, it's that I absolutely hate getting gas. I mean, seriously, man, that's up there with like my top 3 things that I hate most happening.
It's
I'd almost rather take a kick to the balls.
It sounds like to me you were on the hill with old Mary Jane and someone walked up on you.
Yeah.
That's the situation right there. Like, oh shit, this is the wrong parking we need to be
Wrong
in.
parking lot.
So,
oh man,
let's further move on from that. We'll talk a couple more questions about the rallies you were on, and then we're gonna go back to where you're at in D.C. Now working bipartisan campaigns and stuff like that. Now this is because the news doesn't really want to tell anybody anything. Since you were on the ground, you were there, you saw firsthand. The amount of people at let's just say Pence. Let's say Pence. Let's not say Trump. Say like at a Pence rally. A Pence rally. and then a Kamala Harris rally. Give us how percentage wise, like how many more people there? Because every time we saw something on TV, they try to church it up really good, like, 8,000 people showed up for Kamala Harris at a bread store.
Yeah.
You know?
Right. So I can tell you, so I never did a Kamala Harris step.
Oh, okay.
But I had some people who did. They said they were about what you could expect, pretty boring, right?
Right.
The last tents event that I did was in, where was it at? It was in Pennsylvania. It was in Harrisonburg, Pennsylvania.
Okay.
Just right outside the state capitol. And here's a really bizarre thing that I saw unfold that I didn't hear anybody on the news talking about. It really, for me, it was kind of mind-boggling. I was standing there. I was working at Mag Point with a couple of Secret Service agents. And out of nowhere, and now mind you, this is a small regional airport. They flew Air Force One right into it.
Yeah.
Pence comes out and does his thing. But beforehand, when the rally was fixing to happen, there was 1,000 Korean people.
Say that again. Sorry, we broke up a little bit.
Broke up a little bit, Joe. Can you repeat that?
There was about 6,000 Korean people, Korean Americans, that showed up to that particular event. And when I say they were decked out head to toe in Trump, I mean, you would have thought they played for the international Trump basketball team. And they showed up. I quit counting the tour buses because it was just I started trying to count the tour buses that were dropping them off.
Uh-huh.
I mean, they were coming from all around that area, and that was the thing that I thought that a lot of people really missed the missed opportunity on as far as reporting was concerned, was how well Trump did with the Asian vote, in particular the Korean vote.
No, the Koreans are super patriotic. We've had a close relationship with Koreans. Any Korean, I know firsthand. I mean, you were in Virginia there for a while. You know, there's a big Korean and Filipino community. For the most part, our Asian community, like Korea or the Philippines, are super patriotic. When they come over here, they understand. They understand the milk and honey. They understand what type of atmosphere it is. I don't want to go down this big thing, but when it comes to this, and you see this with certain people that come over to the country, they understand what America's all about, and they go after it. They work their ass off. That's why you see they're always constantly working, because they know the advantages that this country has, and that's why I honestly believe, like, you saw so many Koreans show up. They're showing that support because a lot of those Koreans that came over from South Korea, or they defected from North Korea down to South and came to America, they understand what's going on right now.
Yeah.
So and
they left that government to not come to the same government.
Pretty much same thing with a lot of Cubans did.
You know, it's funny, Mike, that the thing that really blew my mind moving forward after that was that you never heard anything on the mainstream media about that. Nothing.
Yeah. Well, you're never gonna hear anything on the mainstream media about us coming together as one people for a common goal. And the common goal is just leave us alone. Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. We want to work, take care of our family, do what we want. Don't tell us what to do. And I'm so far, like, I'm not a right winger or nothing like a right winger or anything like that.
Right,
it's just I have my core beliefs. I'm not going to ever waive from my core beliefs on how I was raised and what I think people can and can't do. It's not my job to tell somebody you can't go do something. You know, everybody has their God-given right, and I'm gonna follow that till the day I die. And that's how a lot of people feel. There's about 75 to 78 million of us that feel the same way right now.
Mm-hmm.
I know the military is the same in the same direction, going that route too. So
I'll tell you, Mike, it's funny you should say that, and this is the topic that I really want to hit on. So we bring up the 74 to 75 million people who voted for Trump that might would feel the same way. But here's the thing that nobody's really talking about, and this is the most mind-boggling portion of the whole deal. So you had the events of last week with the Capitol building. Don't want to get too far into that because it's been beaten to the ground, right?
Yeah.
But you have all these people, you call them patriots, call them Trump supporters, or call them terrorists, or whatever your heart's desire that you want to label these people as. What they were or what they are is feeling disenfranchised, right?
Yeah.
Exactly, yeah.
the fact of the matter is, when you look at what happened last week and the nastiness and the way that the media is spinning it is, well, all they want to talk about is what's been happening in Portland, Oregon, and in Olympia and Seattle all summer long, or Denver, or all these other towns, or Austin for that matter.
Yeah.
But the reality is, it's two sides of the same coin. You have two groups, both that feel disenfranchised by the leadership of the other groups, right? So you take the people who identify with Trump,
Mm-hmm.
and they feel disenfranchised by everybody in the leftist leadership.
Yeah.
You take people that are activists with BLM and Antifa, and they feel disenfranchised by everybody on the right. It's not a good situation to be in. But the reality is the lines continue to be solidified and polarized while the greatest transfer of wealth that the world has ever known is happening right underneath our noses, and everybody wants to keep these two factions as far apart from having a civilized conversation over a cup of coffee so that they can continue to rob these people.
Exactly.
And rob them blind. But if these two groups ever got together and sat down and said, hey, I know what you think you want is democratic socialism, and the democratic socialists go, hey, I think we think what you want is nationalism like it was back in the 80s under Reagan, and they actually talk about the issues and say, the enemy of our enemy is our ally. Why don't we start working together? That's the conversation that nobody wants anybody to have. Why else would you have Parler shut down?
Well, yeah. Well, the conversation, it's about suppressing. They don't want us to come together and work together. And you're touching on a subject that can go hyperbolic super quick, when it comes down to, like, whose side is right, who's wrong, and all this. The only thing I'm seeing is that you got certain elected officials, and we saw this all summer, like you just said, in Portland, and, with some of the information, like the Nancy Pelosi letter to Wheeler up in Portland, she got caught red-handed, basically undermining.
Do you think that letter is real, Mike?
Yes,
I wanted to ask you about that on the air.
Yes.
I'm just,
the reason why I think it's
it,
real, hear me out real quick before you jump on it real quick. The reason why I think it's real is because if there was nothing in Nancy Pelosi's laptop, she would have not got on 60 Minutes in under 24 hours sitting there freaking out. She's been a blubbering idiot ever since that laptop came up missing. The letter was leaked on Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
Literally following, I think it was 15 to 16 hours after that letter was released, Wheeler got knocked the fuck out in Portland.
Yeah.
You know that, right?
No, I've been running and gunning so hard here lately, Mike.
So pretty much people are like, whoa, wait a minute. You mean to tell me Nancy Pelosi was telling this mayor of this, at one time a pretty cool place. I mean, Portland pretty well. It's kind of like, it's got a mix of everybody in there, kind of like Austin, but for the most part, they're not a violent.
Dude, it's like Austin on steroids.
Exactly. So, but these people were still business owners. They're still raising their kids, and a lot of people in Portland did not want this to go down. They didn't want their businesses burnt down and looted. And when Nancy Pelosi's talking about stringing it out so Trump wouldn't have a victory, man, that's being complicit in a crime to me. You're putting people. I mean, think of the damage that people got hurt. I mean, you're at fault for putting people in danger. Nancy Pelosi knows that now, and my honest opinion, I think a couple of cards are going to fall before the inauguration. But I honestly believe that the Democratic Party was involved wholeheartedly with moving money for BLM and Antifa and a couple other things, and that's what I wanted to ask you about. Do you think that Antifa and BLM groups are going to have the balls to approach Washington, D.C. come Inauguration Day?
Oh, man, that's a really good question. This is what my heart of hearts tells me. Seeing what I'm seeing here on the ground with the National Guard assets, at least displaying M4s, even if they're not giving ammunition, which, let me point out, this is one thing that I brought up to my team leader yesterday. If there's one thing that's going to go wrong with this entire inauguration, it would absolutely 100% be arming the National Guard assets. And people that are, prior service that are listening to this podcast will understand exactly what I'm talking about if you've been in a deployed environment.
Mm-hmm.
The last thing I want to see is that this inauguration wind up being, the 2021 version of a Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young song. If you catch my drift, 4 dead in Ohio.
Right. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. So
yeah, here we go. And Nixon's coming, 4 dead in Ohio. But man, if I were to say something was going to go down, Mike, I think it's going to be that evening. That evening, that night, maybe into the next day.
That's what I was thinking. I think it was going to happen. Like, for me, getting, different sources, talking to you and a couple other folks that, that are sending me stuff here and there. I think if anything was going to happen, it'd happen on that particular day.
Yeah.
I am still kind of spooked out a little bit, thinking that, there is going to be a declassification drop. I honestly believe that's going to happen, and I honestly think that a false flag could happen in the next couple of days. That's what I think a lot of people are thinking. It's like you're hearing people like Trump supporters are supposed to go to every capital across the country and be armed, and I'm telling people on this podcast,
just because we're armed doesn't mean it's going to.
I'm telling people on this podcast, don't stay at home. Trump supporters stay at home. There ain't nothing you can do at this point. It's a military operation. I believe at this point, let the military do their job. Stand back, okay? Because, you get a lot of weekend warriors who think they're going to go out there and be tactical and, and all that. I see it every week at gun shops. You got guys coming in that never served in the military, and they're just, and they don't have any kind of close relationship to the military, but they know all the tactics, and they look like a bunch of buffoons, to be honest with you. So if you're a Trump supporter, stay your ass home.
Mike, I think you bring up a good point. I'd say to add to that comment, it's the time to address your grievances. It's gonna present itself.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
This week coming up is not that time.
No, there'll be a time and place. I honestly think the inauguration is not going down. That's my personal opinion. There's just too many other things. There's too many things that the administration is doing right now to make me feel like, there's some big time explosive information. I mean, we cover a lot of information that the mainstream media is not covering right now, as far as the election fraud and things like that, and actual people's names being presented. So I see this as an optic for, moving into troops, the whole 9 yards, because Nancy Pelosi did try to go to the commandant of the Marines and asked the Marines to take over, and he pretty much said, if you don't get out of this office, you're pretty much, you're committing sedition at this point. Because as a soldier, and we all know when you take that oath, it's to the commander-in-chief is the president of the United States, correct?
Well, there's a couple things that you swear allegiance to, but first and foremost is to defend the Constitution of the United States from enemies, both foreign and domestic.
Right. Do you feel there's an domestic enemy in this country?
Whew. Man, I'll be free and I'll be completely at liberty, Mike, to answer that question here in about another 7 months. If you catch my drift, wink, wink, stomp, stomp.
Yeah, I got you. For
the listeners out there, I'm retiring in about another 7 months. So
yeah, so
at that point,
yeah, I wanted to try to throw a curveball on you and get your honest point. So you're going to be retiring in 7 months, but you're still in the thick of the shit. So what issue could happen in the next, let's say, 2 months that would make you not want to retire?
War.
Yeah. I got you.
Yeah, I mean, that's a hard one to walk away from there,
Yeah.
The deployments the last year or 2 years have been they've been pretty lame. So
Right.
yeah, I might would extend. I might would extend for a good old fashioned invasion for the right reasons.
Right, for the right reasons. But as someone serving in the military, war is the last thing any soldier really wants to even contemplate. Most of the people I talk to serving in the military, they don't want war. And Trump's pulling these troops back. We don't need to be the world's police anymore, I feel, in that aspect of things. And, yeah, what do you think? What's your point of view on Trump pulling our stuff, coming back home, and kind of getting our military organized? Do you think that's the right move?
Well, that's a real conflicted question for me, right? So I'm a hammer, and I see nails.
Right.
So, when you're a soldier, you're essentially a hammer, and the battlefield, that's where you hammer your nails.
Mm-hmm.
So the soldier in me obviously thinks, let's throw in some plate carriers, let's throw in some Merrill shoes, and let's go get it. Let's go hit some dismounted missions and tear it up. But the realist in me, I don't see the benefit of spending is we're no longer in the billions of dollars, Mike. We're in the trillions of dollars that we've invested in Iraq and Afghanistan, and now Syria.
Yeah, you got that right.
Is the juice worth the squeeze? I can see our involvement in Syria because there's so much Russian involvement. I get that. At this point, after 15, almost 20 years in Iraq and Afghanistan, has the juice been worth the squeeze? I don't think so.
No, I don't believe so either. I think it was just to keep that military-industrial complex flush with money. I really think we've been there way too much. I mean, shit. I mean, I've had a baby.
It's that Alabama Mafia, Mike. It's that Alabama Mafia.
I got you. I know what you're saying when you come down that road. But what I'm saying is that, shit, this war's been going on so long, man. I got a child that was born when the war started, And this shit's still going on still to this day. And I'm just like, when's this ever going to end? Are we going to end up like Burma? Burma's got the longest-running civil war in history. It seems like this is one of the longest deployment. Is this one of the longest conflicts in U.S. history? This one right here in the Middle East?
I would say it is except for, and I say this in air quotes, the Korean War, because we've officially never ended war with North Korea.
Yeah,
at the 38th parallel.
Yeah.
But, excluding that because I think that's just more semantics, this is most certainly the longest running conflict that we've ever found ourselves in. And by far, the most expensive.
Oh, absolutely. By far, most absolutely. So,
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I hear you. So, James, do you have any questions that intriguing you that you want to get Joe to kind of jump on board here?
Everything that I've been thinking, you've been hitting on the head.
Okay, so we're writing the crosshairs on whatever. So for people who are just checking us out here on the channel, if you're watching us right now, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. I'm going to try to get more interviews like this, actual real folks who actually do the job. This is what we need. I'm noticing what's going on YouTube and other platforms. You're getting people that are uploading videos right and left at a mock speed pace, and they're basically what they're doing is just getting the view chasing right now.
Mm-hmm.
It's very sad that people play off every single little nuance that the news is saying without stepping back, staying calm, and thinking with a level head, and actually doing some real due diligence and research on the subjects you're talking about. I want to call out a few names right now, but since we got our guest on, this ain't the time and place for this show. So I want to give my guest the proper time to answer questions and things like that. So if you would, is there any kind of questions coming through on the email or anything?
Let me check.
Let's check that out, Joe. See if we got a.
Yeah, if you got any super chats or anything like that, Mike, just read them off.
Well, we were going to do the super chat, but we had some technical difficulty with the live, which I know.
Not anything yet. Let me check the social real quick though.
Shoot, sorry guys, my shoulder crazy again.
Let me check the.
No, Mike. Just to go back on what you were saying about your youngest boy being born, when we went direct. I mean, I'll never forget. What was it now? 20 years ago, me and you sitting in your mom and dad's garage. You were still working at Tesoro, so that's how long ago that was.
Yeah, that was a while back. We worked for.
You were on the Amphib base when that happened, and the next day the world completely changed.
Yeah.
No, we don't have any yet, but I know once we post this and they hear, they'll ask questions on comments, so we can actually have him. You can deal with that on the live.
Yeah.
And answer the questions on the live.
So check this out, y'all. Let's give you a little inside with me and Joe's background. Me and Joe have been best friends for probably going on 22 years.
Something like that.
Yeah, something like that. So I've been in contact with him pretty much. I mean, he's chased his way, what he wants to do in life, and I've done my thing. But we've always stayed kind of real connected and close and just keeping things at a just common sense level. We see the world through a different lens. Sometimes we don't agree on stuff, but that's what you got to have your differences sometimes to better the friendships down the road, because you can't always, 100% agree on every single thing. But I will say, when Joe was talking, if I know, I'm gonna give you some bio on Joe. Joe is pretty much, his life has pretty much been just a rocket ship of events and things. He's grown up pretty quick. I met Joe probably when he was 14 years old. At the time, Joe, I can't remember, how old was I?
You were what, 23, 24?
Something like that, yeah. So we've been around each other a minute. And kind of funny for some of you people thinking, damn, he was 14. But at the time and place when all this was happening,
it was a different time.
It was a different time. So Joe was, Joe hung around us and all that, and then eventually, our crowd just kind of absorbed people in. Everybody was good to go. But the cool part about this whole story is that we didn't waver on what we were going to do in life. We weren't in a good spot in Virginia at the particular time. Neither one of us were. And we just kind of went out and did our own thing. So when we were talking about you, I was in Virginia. You were in Virginia. We worked for a weapons company in Virginia. We're a pretty cool place together at a weapons company. You took off.
That was a wild time, wasn't it?
Yes, it was. And the cool part about, like I say, in where I live now, and it kind of sucks for, younger guys, there's really no industry in other states. I mean, there probably is. The Gulf states probably, but as far as like working on military projects and weapon systems and things like that, there's nothing here industry-wise for a lot of these younger cats to kind of get a dose of them. So we were fortunate enough to live in an area where we can work for some defense contractors and things like that. And then you went on and did your thing, and you changed your view and did packing. You did elk hunts and stuff like that. And I mean, you were the youngest elk hunt guide, I think, in Colorado.
You hear everything.
Or I think in the state there at one time. And then, you came down to Texas, did your thing, and then went up to Montana. And then the military was your calling, and that's where you're at right now. So you're sitting in D.C., and I just skimmed over that. Maybe one day.
No doubt.
We'll go down that thing. So, but I had the privilege of you living down here in Texas, close to me for a little bit, and then you made a decision to move, and like with anything, it's tough to see your friends go, but you understand, hey, people got their own lives and their own past, and you're going to support them everywhere, whatever they do. So, but that's just a little overview on Joe and I. So I give you so I don't want you guys thinking that, this was some made up person over here on this podcast. This is an actual true interview with an EOD Tech that I personally know, and I'm fortunate enough to have you in D.C. to let us know what's going down, because people, like I said a little bit ago, people are not, they're so quick. There's so many people right now that are just saying a lot of just hair.
Well, you know what it is, Mike, and I touched on it earlier. I walking down the road, started talking to a fellow real nice guy. And right now, man, we live in a society where everybody is so fast to cast shadow.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody's so fast to point the finger. But here's the dangerous thing about pointing those fingers. Is when you're pointing those fingers, man, there's three other fingers that are pointing right back at you.
Exactly.
And me and you on the phone, we've talked a lot about, different people that we've, learned a lot from over the years. And, some of it's Joe Rogan, and for me, a lot of it's been Jordan Peterson. And I think one thing that's really missing in the fabric of our society today, and this is something that Jordan Peterson, it's pretty much what he tells everybody to start off with, is fix yourself.
Yeah.
Make your bed, do your laundry, do the next right thing. And so, even if it's hard, do the next right thing.
I think you're also, too, I think people are real hard, and I think in this day and age, the way the society, and I blame this on the media. No one wants to own up for their own shit.
Nobody, dude. It's because why do you need to own up your own shit, Mike? When you have platforms every which way to cast shadow toward everybody else, so then you don't have to take a look at yourself and say, "Man, I'm kind of a shitty person, ain't I?"
Yeah. Well, I mean, and that's what I was saying before, is that the information you're getting on these other channels and stuff, they're going off the deep end. I'm going to call somebody out, like I said, but I'm not going to do it on this show. But the next podcast we do, I'm not necessarily going to go fire off at these people. I'm just going to question why are they doing it? Why are they saying certain information? Is it just because they want clicks? And they're getting a lot of people just in there. They're getting tons of comments and things like that. Not that that's a bad thing, but what I'm saying is when I'm listening to certain things and you're just basically some of these people's imagination is just running wild. We don't need that right now. Okay, we had, a lot of that going. Imagination is what's really just people just saying whatever they want, and there's nothing behind what they're saying. There's no true facts. There's no documentations. There's no receipts. And that's why I wanted to get you on firsthand when you're in D.C. letting us know.
Can I interrupt you just for a second, Mike, to give you a firsthand example of that from about 2 hours ago?
Hit it.
So I'm down at the fence, and I'm looking at the National Guard soldiers that are standing post at the Capitol building. And at that exact particular moment, there was a crew. I asked them later where they were from because there's news crews all over the place down there at the Capitol building right now trying to get their sound bites, trying to get their clips in, trying to generate their clickbait.
Right.
And this particular establishment was from Channel 4 UK, so United Kingdom Channel 4.
Lord.
And to hear this particular individual speak, it was, Trump's planning on continuing to seize power, and that's why you have these army guys down here. First off, they're not regular army, they're National Guardsmen, but at his account, you have these army guys down here armed to the gills, trained to shoot and kill on sight. So let's break that down. None of what this guy said was educated. These are National Guardsmen. These are people that are, Walgreens employees. These are people that work at law firms. These are people that work for construction crews. They're weekend soldiers. There's nothing wrong with that. We need that. So that's what they are. They're not armed to the gills. They have IOTVs and M4s and their magazines in the magazine. There's a police car going by. Hold up for a second, Mike.
Yeah,
So with that being said,
I don't want to cut you off real quick. But what is the reason for the police with the sirens on? There's nothing going on right now, right?
I just tacked that up to a DC thing, man. There's nothing but sirens all last night. In my hotel room, real quick story. I opened up my windows last night about 10:15, and got to see two kids make a rap video right outside my hotel window. That was pretty different.
You gotta chase the content when you get it.
You gotta chase the content wherever it is, right?
Right.
But yeah, I think a lot of the it's a busy city, man. It's a lot of people in a small area.
Yeah, what I'm saying is it's like there's no really actual emergencies going on. I mean, 911, pretty much got the mall shut down considerably. But since we've been doing this interview, it seems like the Metro Police, and I got some, I don't even want to talk about Metro Police. That'll be another show. That's one police department I cannot stand. But it seems like it seems like they're doing it to put on a show because there's like you said, there's reporters everywhere. And it seems like every time when you turn on the TV, there's ambulances flying by, there's cop cars flying by with the alarm, and they're making this like DC is just like total apocalyptic going on right now. That's how they're making people. I mean,
I'll give you some contrast. Right quick to that. When I did get here yesterday, I walked outside the hotel just for a second to get a breath of fresh air. And when I came outside the hotel, there was a Metropolitan police officer on foot walking by, and immediately he recognized that I wasn't civilian. I mean, I'm like one of 4 people in Washington D.C. right now that doesn't have a beard, right?
Right.
Yeah, because of the regs. And he says he just starts like very much so embracing me and saying, "Man, thank you so much for being here. It's just been so horrible." He was at the Capitol building last week and got gas.
Oh yeah.
So some of it, I mean, I think they're still trying to continue to create a news story from last week. But man, these police officers up here right now are shook.
Well, I mean, they're shook because the amount of people they knew in the back of their mind is like, if this shit pops off, man, there ain't nothing we can do. And I always tell people that all the time. You ask for you're wanting violence, you ask for violence, but then when the violence starts, and there's that many amount of people, there's not that many first responders and police officers that are going to protect your ass, because what's going to happen in the frantic and the panic, if you want to call it that or whatever, or the madness, is that self-preservation becomes their main, you know what I'm saying? I don't care what's going
Absolutely. So real quick, Mike, I want to point this out. This is something my eyes are seeing. So this entire time I've been talking with you, I've been out walking around down toward the Capitol Mall. I've been heading back toward my my hotel room, and right across the hotel from where I'm at is it's the old Washington Public Library, the Carnegie Library.
Yeah.
Which this is going to probably make you throw up a little bit in your mouth. It is now the Apple Store. Shit you not. Big beautiful building built in 1899. Solid stone and expert, craftsmanship is now the fucking Apple Store.
Well, that's the problem. We got big
But
tech.
what I was gonna tell you is, when I left this morning, that building was completely accessible. And from the time I left this morning to getting back now, there's a 10-foot fence, rigid fence, all the way around it.
Yeah. Now, I'm just wondering if that's, I really think the 10-foot fence and all that kind of stuff, I think it's for show. I think it's for show because, like you said, you got reporters down there talking all kind of madness, thinking that, you got the, they're moving in tanks and, housers and shit like that down there. It's just, it's one thing after another. And I don't think, my honest opinion, if it was a lot, they were going to lock in Washington, then I think all reporters need to be outside the mall, outside of the mall. Let the military do their thing, boom, and then report from the side, because the stories they're throwing on TV every night. I mean, I can't even watch the news. I mean, I want to throw a brick at my TV because you want to shake some of these people. Like, where do you guys come up with this shit? And all it is they're just making it up as they go. They're physically making these stories up as they go.
One of the first times I've actually focused in on mainstream media in a while, I went to a burger place last night. And I want to tell you about, do you mind if I rep a place for you on the podcast?
Yeah, go for it.
Dude, here in D.C., Capital Burger. We go to Capital Burger last night, and everything here is locked down. It's very much so like Washington State is right now. Everything's locked down, like no indoor dining. In the district, you can cross the river into Virginia to have indoor dining. But here in the district, no indoor dining. We go in there. Every one of these establishments, you go to, this is the saddest part, Mike. These people are losing so many money. There's nobody in these establishments. They're not doing any of the business they should do.
Oh, absolutely not.
So, but with that being said, we go into Capital Burger, and the guy takes our order. Fantastic cheeseburger. Had it done medium. I mean, I am a red-blooded American, but guy figures out we're military personnel. He asked us, so we told him, yeah, we're affiliated with the military. Dude throws it was 14 or 15 beers into a grocery bag for us from behind the bar and said, "Here, man, this is on the house. This is for y'all."
Yeah, man, people just.
Go ahead.
I don't want to cut you off, but people just want to get back at it, man. They want to get back to just like human beings are supposed to be around other human beings, because, I mean, if you notice, if you're in crowds or something like that, the people kind of, even they don't even realize they're doing it, they float towards each other. And that's what these restaurant establishments want. They want that hustle and bustle, the clinking and the, just the crazy atmosphere of just people being there again.
Absolutely, and I think that's really a lot of the political environment that we're dealing with, Mike. And I know you're probably going to want to wrap up here before a moment, but one thing I did want to point out about with the Capitol building last week and some other things is, the truth of the matter is, Mike, it's almost like, and I hate using the analogy they, right? Like, they want to do this, they're like, who is they? Well, it's leadership. It's Congress and Senate. It's leadership.
Okay.
But it's almost like the leadership is daring people to do something. I mean, you keep these people locked up, tell them they can't go to work for 9 or 10 months now. It's supposed to be a 2-week lockdown. We're now going on the 1-year anniversary of a 2-week lockdown. People are losing their homes. People are losing their vehicles. People are, maxing out all their credit cards where they were at zero. Now their lives are a complete, shell what they were this time ago, a year ago. And then you talk about, we're going to give you $600 in the form of a stimulus
Yeah.
when it's a $90 billion stimulus?
Yeah, well, I think we went over that with the show.
900 billion.
So, let's go ahead. We got about 3 minutes left, Joe. I just want to get your last little bit of commentary on the events. You probably there's no way of telling how long you're going to be there. So what do you think is going to happen now until inaugural day? We got 3 minutes, Joe.
I think you're going to see. I think beginning Monday or Tuesday next week, I think you're going to start seeing some fringe groups show up. The question is how they're going to be dealt with. Are they going to be dealt with hands-on? Are they going to be, when I say fringe groups, I don't say that in a negative context. Just fringe groups in general. I think that's when you're going to start seeing fringe groups show up. That was Monday and Tuesday. The question is how's it going to react on Wednesday? I think personally, if you're going to see anything devolve, it's going to happen late into that evening, nighttime. So we'll have to see how it's going to go then. But I think it's going to be late into that evening into the next day.
All right, good deal. So with that being said, thank you, Joe, for joining us today. I wanted to get just an honest, raw interview from someone on the ground. So we're going to be cutting it out here. So thank you for your time, Joe. Get back at it, stay safe, get home. If anything comes into play, give me a call or whatever. We'll probably I'm going to try to get you on the next live. Possibly a live. We're going to try to figure out our computer stuff that we're dealing with right now. But like I said, all these seems like all these providers are slowing the internet down. So, but I'm going to let you get back at it. Thank you for the interview. And this is Mike with the Big Mike Podcast. Thank y'all. Love y'all. God bless America. And I'll see you on the next episode.